Like, what if the dream is dreaming you, man? Like the dream dreams the dreamer is the inverse of the dreamer having the dream. It's just kind of a funny way of flipping it
Blue pill,
around.
red pill. Yeah,
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 yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. I'm Andy, the man over there adjusting his glasses. That's John. Yeah, that's right, John. Pissed up. And we are here to do what we do every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, which is dig into some music. And today, it will be a song offered up by our friend John over there that I'm going to go off and listen to. John, how are you and what do you have in store?
Yeah, fair to middling. And we are now returning to the band Television.
Oh, nice. Okay. So,
So
what are we
the
working?
track is called The Dream's Dream.
Oh, even dreams dream, huh? Some dreamception. Okay. Well, let me go off. I've enjoyed everything that we've done from television to this point. So it'll be no surprise to me if I end up enjoying this as well. And all the more reason why I'm looking forward to it. So let me go off, hit play, come back and let you and everybody else know what I think. Nice little stutter start to get us into this. It's this lovely, casual, kind of laid back feeling to this that instantly is kind of like, for me, it's kind of warming. It just makes you feel calm and at ease. Nice. These little touches on the guitar are really pretty.
The elevator called me up. She said you better start making sense.
The elevator said that?
The stone was bleeding, whirling in the waltz. I went to see Her Majesty. The court had no suspense. She said, dream dreams the dreamer. I said, it's not my fault.
Musically, it's so pretty. Vocally, that was just, from a lyrical standpoint alone, very confusing. But Verlaine, I think his name is it Tom Verlaine? He's got this really distinct voice. It's a little nasally, um, and a bit shaky and twangy. Uh, Very much its own thing. I'm sure it's, you know, for some people not their bag, but I find it really interesting. And coupled with this sound, for me, it works. This tranquil touches on the guitar. I have to say, the added touch of these like semi-loose, laid-back drum rolls are lovely touches to the track as well. This really does put you at ease. Bass work is nice. Ooh, the distant howling of that guitar note as this heartbeat bass line continues. Tinkles on that piano. Ah, song is like this stranger that just meanders in, hangs around for a little bit, and then meanders off. Just there's something really kind of like calming and therapeutic to the whole package here. I mean, everything about it was really sweet, and again, this therapeutic like effect it has on just listening and letting it wash over you. You know, the meandering bass, those loose kind of shuffling drums for the most part, and the lovely little touches on the guitar and the piano are all like, it's just warm and kind of puts you at ease. You know, musically speaking, this was really nice and soothing. Verlaine came and went. I don't and when he did, I had no idea what he was saying. Maybe John can fill me in on that, but I don't think that the messaging here was the main focus of the band, at least from like a narrative standpoint. I think this was really all about the mood that the music provides and kind of invokes in the listener. At least that was my experience, and that's how I, kind of ingested it. And I thought that this is I mean, this is, I think, our fourth television track on the channel, and each one has been interesting and fun in its own right. I think this is probably the warmest song we've done by them, and the most, as I've said, soothing song from a musical standpoint from these guys. And one more that I really, really enjoyed. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what John has to say about this, and if there is any meaning behind that interesting stanza of lyrics that we got. And I think this is the second album. I'm not the professional when it comes to television, but I think that there were two big albums by them. One has more of the cooler palette, like the blue, similar in that it's the band. It's pretty much just the band on the front, but I think it has more blues and like maybe purples, like this cooler color palette to it. Whereas this is this bright, warm red, which is interesting because there's warmth to this song. Not saying that that's intentional. Perhaps it's just a coincidence. But yeah, interested to learn more about this. So let's get back to John and chop it up.
Hadaway and shite. He's back. So you've had to listen to The Dream's Dream by Television. Please do tell.
A vision. I will in just a moment. I'd say that before I even hit play, I see the thumbnail. It is the record that hangs behind you. If I'm not mistaken, that's the second one, right? Because the first one has the cooler palette to it. It's like bluish or purple. This has the bright red. Yeah, okay. And that is the one that had Foxhole on it, correct?
Foxhole. Yes. So we have done Friction and Marky Moon off the first album, Marky Moon,
Right.
Foxhole, and now The Dream's Dream off Adventure.
Okay. The sophomore effort by television. Yes, that's what I thought. So I hit play, and a resonant guitar chord opens things up, accented by a few raps of the drums before the song begins to take full form. And when it does, it has this casual, laid back pace to it, as the guitar provides this simple but pretty motif behind which you can hear some punctuating organ notes. The drums add these nice but loose rolls on the toms as the song shuffles along. There develops this nice tandem sound as the bass and the guitar mirror the same musical pattern before the guitar cuts out and allows the bass to fill the void for a few seconds, at this point around like the 120 mark. And it's soon accented by little bits of guitar notation and more of those loose shuffling drum raps. And soon after this portion, Tom Verlaine, is it? That's the lead vocalist, and he's also the guitarist, isn't he?
He, well, him and Robert Lloyd, the two
Right. One of
guitarists.
the guitarist, right? Exactly. So his voice emerges and begins delivering the opening line, singing, "The elevator called me up. She said you better start making sense." And I can't help but to chuckle at the irony of this line, as I didn't think an elevator was capable of being assigned a gender, let alone making phone calls. And this opening line, um, uh, and my confusion surrounding it seemed to be a strong indicator as to what I should expect throughout the rest of the narrative here, albeit brief, which is to say, I'm not making any sense of what's going on here. There are allusions to a bleeding stone, a whirling waltz, a visit to a queen, a court that lacked suspense, and that titular phrase that sounds like a riddle about dreaming. And then our narrator absolving himself of blame, but for what I do not know. And then Verlaine delivers this whole confusing stanza with a slightly shaky, twangy, nasally tone of his. And just as the stanza comes to an end, there is this really pretty moment at the 2:14 mark where the song lifts at the strum of a chord and becomes airier and more buoyant, and with a prettier and fuller sound to the music. And while that chord resonates, another guitar noodles over top of it, whilst the bass goes on these lovely little walkabouts beneath, and the organ notes occasionally punctuate the soundscape. And there's something quite serene about this portion of the song, though to be fair, I think serene, laid back, calming could be descriptors of the song as a whole. I think this part is probably where it reaches its apex of setting that kind of mood. Um, and there's this soothing nature to it that kind of pulled me in and set me at ease. And this relaxing motif continues for well over a minute before another loose, almost tumbling drum roll gives way to a beautiful lead guitar portion where notes with like these little trills and ascensions further this feeling of floating above the floor. And shortly after the 440 mark, we get a comparatively tighter drum fill that segues into these lone bass notes, occasionally punctuated by touches on the drums and the cymbals, and some of that eerie sounding guitar notation and the tinkling of the keys. And this almost heartbeat like bass motif and its ascending counterparts continue on for over a minute, stretching, meandering, and ultimately fading toward the finish line as the song comes to an end. Yeah, there was something almost therapeutic about the music and the movement thereof in this song. It moved in such a way that it felt like it was holding your hand throughout and guiding you through each portion. Nothing was abrupt and everything was seamless. And for me, not one instrument really outshined its brethren in this track. Each one of them played an integral part in creating this calming atmosphere. So, yeah, I really like this track. I think they're now firmly 4 for 4 with me. But this, I think, among all of them, had the most calming air to it, which is Foxhole was a bit more energetic, as you love to inject whenever you say its name. Speaking of Pavlovian reactions, uh,
Oh, fuck, so.
Foxhole. Uh, but and there is that repetitive shoegazy nature to the earlier stuff, especially Marquee Moon, but it didn't have the same amount of like that had more energy, not to say that it was bombastic or anything,
Yeah, yeah.
than this track did. So I think that there is something. I'm not saying that I like this the most. I think I will probably forever like Marquee Moon the most, the title track off that first album. But this is an interesting song and a slightly. It's not like a 180 or anything, but a slightly different, sound from them where they've judiciously reined it in slightly, and I like that. I'll say this without harping on it because I don't really think that it was the main part of the song or really the main focus of the song. But the stanza of lyrics, I didn't make any sense of. So if you could shed some light on that, if it's possible, that'd be great. But yeah, tell me a bit more about this track, as I know we've covered a bit this album in the past.
Yeah, so as we briefly just said, thanks to Andy, we've covered Friction, Marquee Moon, and Foxhole. There's a playlist, there's a bit added to it. If you want to go in and a bit more about the band, Friction, a bit more about this album on Foxhole, I won't go over the same points again. So this is from their second album, Adventure, released in April '78. Go over the personnel: Tom Verlaine, lead vocals, guitar, keyboards; Richard Lloyd, guitar, vocals; Fred Smith, bass, vocals; and Billy Fiker, drums. No singing for Billy. It says guitar solos, Richard Lloyd on days, and Ain't That Nothing, Tom Verlaine on the rest. That's not strictly true, and I think both guitarists have a hand in the solo on this track. I
Oh,
believe.
okay.
So this is the closing track on the album.
Oh,
And as discussed before, the problem with the album Adventure is Mark A. Moon. If they hadn't produced that, this is like an amazing debut album from a band.
yeah.
But you know, and it kind of sums it up. All Music said, sure, Mark and Moon is a better album, but Adventure has one of the greatest guitar bands of all time, playing superbly on a set of truly fine songs. And albums like these come along far too infrequently for anyone to ignore music this pleasurable, simply on the grounds of relative evaluation. It's not quite a masterpiece, but it's a brilliant record by any yardstick. And that's totally true. This track, because it's the closer and it's the longest one, it is often unfairly compared to the track Marky Moon, but it has a very different feel, as you sort of hinted to.
Yeah.
The first album has been described as jazz punk. I think the punk element stretching it. It's kind of post-punk with a bit of this jazzy improvisation and feel. So it's a very interesting and unique sound I think they produced for Marky Moon, especially at the time. This song, I think this construction of all the songs on Adventure is probably a bit more mature, I want to say that, and sort of crafted. I wouldn't say it's better or worse, but they're just progression definitely is there. And this song, there is a lovely, as you said, sort of languid haziness to
Yes.
the music.
Yeah.
It's almost like the song itself is trying to remember what it is. Um, you have the sort of, so I think the very surreal and obtuse lyrics are nonsense
Yeah.
verse. And it immediately put me in mind of Lewis Carroll. So the imagery could be easily cut from the court of the Queen of Hearts
Mm.
quite easily. Um, but the line in it, dream dreams the dreamer, could easily be a Shakespearean reference. And I'll come back to that. But it also, even though it precedes the work by over a decade, Gaiman's Sandman also springs to mind.
Mm. Yeah.
The Dream's Dream, So yeah, there's not a lot on the internet about this in sort of just this song. People say, oh, it's great, it's a bit hazy. Some people have offered up that it sounds tired, which I don't get or agree with. I think the guitar tone on this song, as always with Verlaine and Lloyd, is exquisite. And I will go so far as to say, yeah. So there was a time, oh God, I don't know, 15 years ago. Had some mates round and we were drinking all day and doing all that stuff. And we are talking about guitar stuff. And so one of them asked me what my favourite guitar solo was. And I went upstairs, grabbed the CD, because there was no streaming back then. Downstairs, put this song on, and you could see the disappointment on their faces. They were expecting sort of Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen, sort of like,
The
and this
basis
was
part.
like, why is this the favourite? And I said, well, it's just so beautiful, but it also just fits the song
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah.
So it is my favourite television guitar solo, which, because of the nature of the band, means it's probably at any one time at least a top 5 all-time solo in my. And the things change. My favourite song, my favourite album will never change. I can tell you that. But within the sort of list, there's always this churning, isn't there? But I just absolutely, and it's not melt your face, or whatever. It's just when someone paints something and the brushstrokes are completely perfect, it
Mm.
just fits. And it doesn't have to be an intricate study or something. It could be a Montreal or something, just broad strokes, or whatever. And this, isn't showing off. It just is so beautiful. It's like beautifully crafted and everything fits. So, and the other thing I really like about this is the crash after the culmination of all the guitars. You have this sort of very long sort of do sort of fade out, which is a little bit more like something off Marky Moon, but it has a lurking menace to it, which is laced with some sort of contrition. There's like a frustration of not remembering, or perhaps the shame of remembering too much. It's like that both choices are offered to you. As this is going on, you're all sitting in limbo until you choose.
Mm.
That's the way I see it anyway. I've listened to this a lot more than you have, so there you go. Um, I was going to give you, I got this last year, um, television live at the old Waldorf, San Francisco, 78. This is a an awesome album. It really is. So there used to be, there's an album called Blow Up, and it was first released only on cassette. It was a live version of television, and the version of Little John and Jill and Marky Moon on it is amazing. It's a little bit rough around the edges though, but you know what you're hearing is just history being made. It's fantastic. This is a bit better, and it opens with the Dream's Dream, and it starts off with this woman talking because it was Simo broadcast on radio, I think, so it's really good quality.
Mm.
Um, and they go into it, and it's like very muscular, the version of this. The main body of the song's really beefed up, so that he puts in extra riffs, as you know, through the verse and where you would sing that do 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 do, but it leaves out the solo, which is my favorite bit.
Oh yeah.
So I if you are a fan of this, listening to this afterwards, it's great. But it was unfair to give you that first if you haven't heard the solo, because
Yeah,
that's the bit that goes for me. But the sound is fantastic on this album, and they do a version of I Can't Get No Satisfaction, which is just incredible. It's so good. It really is. And what this album does is, you know, so Dream's a Dream, Venus, which is a classic, Foxhole, Foxhole, Careful, Ain't That Nothing, Little Johnny Jill, Friction, Marky Moon, and I Can Get No Satisfaction. It makes you really appreciate the songs of Adventure even more when you hear them live and played with gusto. Um, they sound even better, really good, and it all sort of works and fits in my head then. So definitely worth checking out if you're a
okay.
television fan. Um, but I will say this song really is, for me, is an epic song, and it has that sort of largesse about it. And as a close off the album, it's a perfect swan song for the band, who then broke up until they reformed again in 91. Spoiled it all. But anyway, so the interesting lyrics. The elevator called me up. She said, you better start making sense. Now, when I first heard this, I thought the elevator was a nickname for a very tall bird that he knew. I thought that'd be really funny. And of course, you better start making sense just reminds me of stop making sense and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. The stone was bleeding, whirling in the waltz. I went to see Her Majesty. The court had no suspense. She said, dreams, dreams the dreamer. I said, it's not my fault. Um, the other thing that was sprung to mind was where they used to knock around is at the Chelsea Hotel, um, where I think Patti Smith lived as well for a time. It's where Sid stabbed Nancy as well. I'm sure it's the
Okay.
Chelsea Hotel. And all these weird sort of bohemian people lived there. And again, it would feel a bit like a court at the time, you know, and someone like Her Majesty would be Patti Smith holding court, and
Yeah.
all these creative and interesting and weird types. And it's where I think the LGBTQ plus sort of movement started in New York, was around there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, really interesting. I haven't got too much more to say about this, apart from I just love this song. Apart from, there's a couple of quotes I managed to dig up from Will Shakespeare, which I thought was just really interesting compared to sort of the imagery of this. So from Romeo and Juliet, Romeo, I dreamt a dream tonight. Mercutio, and so did I. Romeo, well, what was yours? Mercutio, that dreamers often lie. Romeo, in bed asleep while they do dream things true. So that's the interesting use of the word lie, but yeah, it's great. And of course, Prospero from The Tempest. We're all made of dreams, and our lives stretch from sleep before birth to sleep after death. It's another great thing.
Yes.
So, you know, whatever it means, it sounds great. So
I just
yeah,
like the idea of like, what if the dream is dreaming you, man? Like, you know, like the dream dreams the dreamer is the inverse of the dreamer having the dream. It's just kind of a funny way of flipping it
blue pill,
around.
red pill. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah, excellent. From 1978, it's quite a
Yeah.
nice thought, isn't it?
Sounds
Yeah,
really good.
brilliant. All right, that's another one from the television canon to add to our list. Thank you for listening, Andy. I
Thank
shall
you
wrap
for
things up.
talking. Good
Folks
stuff.
out there, please tell us what you think. What do you reckon? How does this sit within your reckoning of television songs? Are you a fan or not? Yeah, please drop your comments. We'd love to hear from you, what you think of this. Do hit the like button if you like this. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. We really appreciate everybody who does support the channel. So pick up that ripe and haul. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.